Joining us now, weekly columnist for the Washington Post, Fareed Zakaria. He's the author of the new book, Age of Revolutions, Progress and Backlash from 1600 to the present. Fareed, good morning. It's great to have you. I want to talk about the book in depth in just a moment, but let's go back to the conversation we were having a moment ago about Israel and this step now taken by the United States to send a top military commander to Tel Aviv to coordinate with the IDF to consider the possibilities and the potential for that Iranian retaliation for the strike in Damascus a couple of weeks ago. What do you see in that move from the United States, both tactically and symbolically?
I think the U.S. has been worried from the start that while it defends Israel's right to defend itself and to pursue its adversaries, the manner in which it has conducted this war has been something the Biden administration has been, frankly, opposed to from the start. They believe there should have been a more discreet, discriminating attack. They're worried about the war widening. And what happened here was, of course, it was an Israeli strike on an Iranian consulate facility in Syria that is provoking this circumstance. So what I think the Biden administration is trying to make sure is that the war doesn't spread. Obviously, that means they're very worried about Iranian retaliation, but they are worried about the way in which Israel is going about this. Look, it's crass to point this out, but it is true. Prime Minister Netanyahu has extremely low approval ratings. There is no question that were the war to end, he would face a political reckoning. Something like 75% of Israelis want him out once the war is over. So there is obviously a danger that this war goes on and that this war expands because that is in the Prime Minister's political interest. These things are awkward to say, but that is the reality.
That is the reality. And it's also, it's awkward to say as well because Hamas is responsible for what happened on October 7th. And yet it was made possible in so many ways by Benjamin Netanyahu. And we've been trying to get answers from Israeli officials and others. Maybe you can provide some insight. Why didn't Netanyahu know about Hamas's funding sources in 2018 and neither he nor Donald Trump did anything about it? Why did they send the Mossad chief to Doha 3 weeks before the attacks? And you actually had the Qataris saying, do you want us to still give money to Hamas? And they were like, yes, sure we do. Why is it that it took 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours for Israel to respond to the brutal raping and slaughtering of Jewish people in the worst Holocaust, worst killing of Jews since the Holocaust? You know, when 9/11 happened downtown, our first responders were there in 2 minutes. Why? Do you have any answers?
Well, look, the broader strategic problem is that Bibi Netanyahu was colluding with Hamas. It was a informal collusion, but it was a collusion which was strategic from his point of view. He wanted to kill the idea of a two-state solution. How do you kill the idea of this two-state solution? You say the Palestinians are ungovernable. They're divided, and one part of them is run by these fanatical crazies. So, in order to keep that theory alive, you have to make sure that the fanatical, crazy jihadists, Hamas, are well funded.
So he funds the jihadists, and then talk about how that frees him up to actually put pressure on Palestinians on the West Bank and allow illegal settlements to continue to grow there.
Look, in the last 3 weeks, the day that Tony Blinken was in Israel, he announced an appropriation of 2,000 acres of land in the West Bank for further settlements, something that not only the United States, but almost every country in the world believes is a direct violation of international law. So, you know, that the strategy is still at some level in place. Why there was that failure on that horrible day, where the brutal massacre that Hamas did, and for which it is solely responsible and should be destroyed. I think that may have been an IDF failure, but it's fair to say that Bibi Netanyahu was not spending his time worrying about, about an attack from Hamas. That was not his concern.
We've talked before about how much Dr. Brzezinski, how great respect he had for you. I went back and I know you spoke with him a good bit.
Yep.
Went back and read his memoirs about Camp David. And even then, even going back to 78, there were constant discussions, constant battles about illegal settlements. Can you explain why it's in Israel's best interest, cynically, to keep pushing these illegal settlements in the West Bank? Something that the United States, whether it's Jimmy Carter or Ronald Reagan or George H.W. Bush or Joe Biden, why Israel keeps ignoring the United States and putting these illegal settlements in the West Bank?
I think it is not in Israel's long-term interest.
They think it is.
Right. So, I mean, to my mind, the best advocate on this issue is the founding prime minister of Israel, who was himself, you know, when it takes place, David Ben-Gurion, the man who more than any single human being probably created Israel and allowed it to survive. When the war takes place in 1967, a few months later, he says, give back the territories. You're going to regret this. Trust me. And this is a man who, you know, when founding Israel, had to take a lot of land and expel a lot of Palestinians. Right.
Zionist.
This was a tough guy.
Right.
And he said, you're going to rue this. This is because you're going to be stuck with this, you know, with this problem, which is exactly what has happened.
Right.
Because land acquired by force is something the world is not going to recognize. We don't recognize it when Putin does it. We don't recognize it when Israel does it. And therefore, making, you know, the reason we have accepted the fact that Israel has these occupied lands is because it has always been, the idea has always been, there is a path here where, you know, we're trying to work this out, where this is a temporary acquisition.
Right.
The settlements make that permanent. But to be fair, it's always important to state in these situations, there have been Israeli governments that have made real good faith efforts to deal with this issue. Ehud Barak did offer Arafat 98% of the West Bank and compensating territory. Ehud Olmert did offer Abu Mazen, Arafat's successor. The problem we have right now is that was, you know, and this is why I think issues on campus are different. The Israel you and I remember, Joe, is an Israel that made serious offers for peace and the Palestinians turned them down. For the last 15 years under Bibi Netanyahu, Israel has made no such offers, has been appropriating land, has been arresting people, keeps Palestinians under martial law, and has supported Hamas. So that's a very different Israel that most young people have seen in the last 15 years.
And Willie, it has been that sort of cynicism with one focus, and that is doing everything possible to avoid a two-state solution. That's what Netanyahu's been doing. And again, that's what's caused the cynicism for so many young Americans. And by the way, Willie, one more thing, too, for people that are just tuning in, I will say, when Fareed talks about those opportunities and those deals, just so people don't say, oh, my God, he's so pro-Israel. I've heard Fareed say time and again, talking about 2000, which is, of course, when I brought it up with Dr. Brzezinski, that's when he called me stunningly superficial. As Fareed has said, he's used that quote that we've heard diplomats say before, the Palestinians have never passed up an opportunity to pass up an opportunity. So, you know, this is both two sides looking past each other.
And by the way, you can still get your stunningly superficial merch online at morningjoe.com.
You can still get the mug,
sweatshirts,
T-shirt,
coffee mugs,
yes,
golf visor for the Masters. Make it a whole package.
Exactly.
Fareed, also want to ask you before we get to the book about Ukraine and the aid that is so desperately needed by that country right now, that has been held up for months now without really any sense of urgency by the House, particularly Republicans in the House. What is your sense of how that delay is being felt on the front lines and impacting Ukraine's ability to push back Russia, as it has for more than 2 years now?
It's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of the word of the United States, a commitment that the United States government, bipartisan, has been making for years now to support Ukraine, and is now pulling the rug from under them at an absolutely critical moment. It rewards the worst kind of aggression. It rewards the most anti-American dictator with the greatest power in the world. It's extraordinary that the party of Ronald Reagan is holding up aid to a group of people who are desperately fighting to become more pro-Western, more pro-American, more part of the Western and the American world. I mean, Ronald Reagan called the Afghan Mujahideen the moral equivalent of the Founding Fathers. If they were the moral equivalents of the Founding Fathers, the Ukrainians whom I have seen fighting for their freedom are some exponential version of that. These are really the good guys. I mean, they have taken incredible losses. They are up against a Russian aggressor. Marjorie Taylor Greene has some bizarre argument that we should be supporting Russia because they're Christians. The Ukrainians, first of all, are Christians too. They are fighting for a liberal democracy, not a religious state. But the Russians have destroyed 100 Ukrainian churches because they bomb absolutely indiscriminately. In fact, it's not really indiscriminate. They are targeting civilian facilities, religious facilities, water treatment plants. This is one of the most brutal campaigns an aggressor has ever waged. And he might win because the United States is dawdling over something like this. I mean,
because House Republicans are dawdling. Because
House Republicans have, and to be fair, again, it's not even House Republicans. Right. A majority of House Republicans would vote for this. It's because you have this, this minority that is really trying to build a profile on social media, and not really. This is part of what the problem with American politics is right now. With a 1 or 2 seat majority, the Republican Party is behaving as though it has a 2/3 majority and is being governed by the most extreme 10% of the party.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.